Well, it looks like Sony has already started planting fake reviews for their crappy new Ghostbusters remake. That didn't take long, did it? After making my video entitled Paul Feig and Sony Know Ghostbusters Sucks, it got flooded with comments of all kinds, including new information and articles about the film that I didn't even know about. So a big thanks must go out to everyone who watched and commented on my video, as I have learnt a lot from all of you. And these new turn of events only further prove my point that Sony know their new Ghostbusters remake sucks. Now let's just take a step back and analyze the situation here. Disney and Warner Brothers have released their big summer blockbusters, that being Captain America Civil War and Batman vs Superman. Despite what any of us think of the films, they both were hugely successful in the fact that they made the studios hundreds of millions of dollars, more than making their invested money back. Now both studios still have a couple more movies down the line to profit from, that being Suicide Squad and Doctor Strange, so both studios are in good standing and have put their eggs in plenty of baskets and will undoubtedly make a ton of cash. On the other side of the spectrum, we have Sony, who have put all their eggs in one basket this year, and they are they are pleading that this movie succeeds, as their main goal is to make a franchise out of this. Not to mention they spent $154 million on this movie, which we already know they aren't getting back. So in Sony's eyes, they need to try and win us over and let us know that this movie isn't all that bad. I mean, it's not like we should apologize to you or anything, so please see our movie. In IMAX 3D, as a matter of fact. We'll even throw in some cameos for free. You like Bill Murray? Yes, I do like Bill Murray, and quite honestly, it pains me to see him unwillingly have to be a part of this crap. I would rather not watch and support the movie, just so he does not have to be involved with any more crappy sequels. Now, one thing I regretfully did not mention in my previous video was the review embargo the movie had. Sony obviously didn't want bad press about the movie before it released, so they just recently lifted it. So we are now going to see reviews posted on the internet, and it just so happens that we got this very odd review from this nobody on YouTube, who has next to no subscribers, claims he was invited to a special screening of the film, and it just so happens he came out giving the movie a big, fat, massive thumbs up. Now already many people found this to be incredibly fishy, whereas supporters of the movie were like, "Ha! The movie is great! Take that, you haters!" Well, don't get excited just yet, as the credibility of this movie just might get even worse after you have finished watching this video. In an attempt to rejuvenate their status, Sony have more than likely made themselves look even worse in the eyes of the public, which I'm not gonna lie, is quite a feat to reach, so if anything, you gotta give them credit for that. Now, Sony have had fake reviews for their movies in the past, there's no real surprise there, but they got sloppy with the justification for this review, and the main one being, how on earth can a YouTuber with 348 subscribers end up getting a special early access VIP screening for a movie that has not officially released yet? His excuse is that he filled out an online form and that got him a viewing, but that is just nonsense. I have never heard of such a thing. And in the review, he hardly talks about any cons, and when he does, he portrays them as minute. He also doesn't even talk about the people who wouldn't like it. With a movie that's as diverse as this, that is something everyone should be doing, but he is the first to not even acknowledge that. Do you know what? We need to have a background check done on this guy. What we need is someone heroic, ambitious, someone who is not afraid to do some investigative journalism, someone who can take it, who's not our hero, someone who's a silent guardian, a watchful protector, a midnight...
I'll look into it.
Sorry Batman, I should have been more specific. I was actually referring to Midnight Edge. Anyway, back on topic. Now, Midnight Edge, who have done great videos in regards to this Ghostbusters movie, have done some further digging, and you won't believe what they found out about this guy. Here goes. He has never reviewed a movie on his channel and never mentioned Ghostbusters like this. The first video on the channel was posted 10 months ago. Coincidentally, the movie began production on June 18, 2015. That means the channel was created right after the movie began production. The channel has averaged less than 1,000 views on any previous video. The channel in question at the time of the video's release had only 348 subscribers, yet he was invited to an official Sony screening of the movie. Okay, now I am by no means a big channel, but I am way bigger than this guy, and even I don't expect to get early screenings to watch a movie. But what makes this guy so special that Sony invited him along? Also, another interesting point is that this guy has a LinkedIn profile, and this is how he describes himself. I'm an integrated marketing professional with a strong background in public relations, convention management, and social media. I work with non-profits to identify emerging media trends to create targeted integrated marketing campaigns for sci-fi and fantasy culture. In other words, if there were two sides to the marketing force, I would forever choose the path of the Jedi. Also, I own a TARDIS. Okay, I'm going to ignore the fact that Sony all of a sudden have become a non-profit organization. I want to focus on this sentence. I work to identify emerging media trends, in this case, Ghostbusters, to create targeted, integrated marketing campaigns for sci-fi and fantasy culture. Again, Ghostbusters. And lastly, his final sentence, in other words, if there were two sides to the marketing force, I would forever choose the path of the Jedi. Well, that's a nice sentiment, but in this case it appears that you have chosen the path of the dark side. Something I will add is that nothing in this video sounds genuine. It all sounds like artificial PR bullshit. It comes off as a salesman trying to sell a product. None of us with common sense would listen to him because he is just trying to sell you something and at the end of the month get his paycheck. Also, he did nothing to put our concerns at ease. He basically says, yeah, people did not like the idea of this, but that's how it is and I loved it. That's how you can sum up his entire review. He just gloats about the movie and none of it made for a compelling input on this very controversial and senseless film. His review was incredibly biased and I have a feeling that someone was in the room with him when he filmed this and in between the jump cuts he would be told what to talk about next. So when it's all said and done, will Sony be brought to account for doing something they did a long time ago? Without a doubt, they should be. It also doesn't help their defense that they got fined $326,000 in the past for fabricating reviews of A Knight's Tale and The Animal. Sony agreed at the time to not do this anymore, but here we are. Also, I must talk about the sudden change in Paul Feig's behavior towards us in his recent interviews. Paul Feig used to paint all of us with one brush and call all of us sexist and misogynistic on his social network feeds and interviews. However, recently he has been saying that he totally understands why many of us would be skeptical and worried about this movie, saying, and I quote, "I would be too if someone other than myself was directing it." Okay, all of a sudden he has adopted the right perspective on how we view this movie, but it poses the questions. Why is he saying this now? Why didn't he say this months ago when we were constructively exchanging our concerns on the matter? Well, it's painfully obvious why. He and Sony got too carried away with insulting us that we said enough is enough and we are never going to see this movie. Sony have now realized the extent of the damage they have done with their marketing ploy and they are trying to win us back. Hence the sudden dark and gritty posters and hence the change of heart from Paul Feig. They have insulted a humongous part of their viewer base. As a result, that is really going to backfire so bad and is going to significantly hurt their box office sales. And I can say with 100% confidence, they will deserve it. When it comes down to it, it's all in our hands really. So I put it to you guys and girls who are watching this video. If you want Sony to be held accountable for their actions, then share this video in hope that it eventually finds its way to the relevant department who will call up Sony. If you think Sony should be allowed to fabricate reviews to back up their own outlook, well, that's option number 2. If you probably couldn't tell, I obviously want them to be held to account, otherwise I would not have made this video. As for my next video, I will be discussing how inexplicably and hypocritically sexist this movie is, as now the embargo is lifted, the reviews are in, and people have revealed some really rather sexist, misogynistic and disgusting material from the movie. Until then, check out my review of the original Ghostbusters, as I have finally seen the movie and I give you a comparison between the comedy, characters and tones of both the old and new films. Thank you very much for watching, I always appreciate it. My name is Eric and don't watch Ghostbusters.